There's no doubt that the Geely EX5 offers stunning on-paper value. It's an electric mid-size SUV that costs $40,990 before on-road costs. And this car, the one next to me, the upspec Inspire, has things like massage seats, a 360-degree camera, and a huge touchscreen, and yet it only costs $48,000 drive away or thereabouts in New South Wales. Plus, it's got a pretty decent electric-only range of 410 k's. So, is there a catch? You bet. I'm John Law, this is Chasing Cars, and I think it's time we take a close look at this new entrant from China. Chasing Cars, honest reviews of your next car. Brought to you by Budget Direct. I'll give some context to just how sharp the Geely EX5's price is. The Leapmotor C10 and Deepal S07 are about 5 grand more expensive. This thing even undercuts the much smaller BYD Atto 3, and the best seller in this class is the $58,900 Tesla Model Y. So you can see then that Geely is being extremely bold with its pricing. Plus, it's running deals, serious finance deals and trade-in deals at the moment. And although they're end of financial year deals at the time of filming, I can't really see this Chinese brand backing away from its sharp prices yet. And at least on paper, it's not like Geely is skimping on things like after-sales support. This car has a 7-year unlimited kilometre warranty, and the battery is warranted for 8 years and unlimited kilometres as long as you're using it for private use. Servicing isn't expensive either. 5 years is $1,190 if you pay up front, and maintenance is due every 12 months or 20,000 Ks. We're informed that as a logistics partner, Geely has chosen DB Schenker too, with plenty of experience in holding spare parts in warehouses, and they say with up to 12 months of spare parts are on hand. Don't know how true that is. Perhaps if you bought one of these and you've had issues, you can let us know in the comment section down below. Plus, this thing's really efficient. It's got a 60.2 kilowatt-hour lithium ion phosphate battery pack, and in real-world driving, we've easily been able to achieve the WLTP range of 410 Ks, even bettering it at 430 Ks of indicated range. Charging isn't super fast at 100 kilowatts, so 20 to 80% in just under 30 minutes, but that's still really respectable for this price and this class. I've been pretty positive thus far, but the boot is where cracks begin to show in the EX5's package. Size-wise, it's not too bad at 410 litres, but there is a 108 litre storage box below, which is huge. So there's heaps of underfloor storage. You've also got split-level boot floor. I almost think Geely probably could have managed to package a spare wheel in there, which maybe we can see in the future, but for now it's just a goo inflation kit. But apart from that, the boot is really lacking features. You've got these cheap little shopping bag hooks off to the side, but no luggage cover, no 3-pin socket, and no even 12-volt socket back here to plug anything in, which just seems a little bit frustrating, especially when this thing can actually do 3.3 kilowatt vehicle to load with an adapter plugged into the charge port. We'll start with the physical stuff in the front seat, because actually this Geely EX5 is rather practical and seems to be very well appointed. You've got soft materials all up here on the dashboard with some stitching, soft materials up on the door cards, and there's even a nice squidgy armrest. As for practicalities, we've got a single wireless charger and a nice rubberized space for a second phone. We've also got a deep center cubby in here and this huge extra storage area. I guess you'd call it a mezzanine, which is perfect for handbags, tissue boxes. We even had a coffee tray with 4 cups in it, fit down there really nicely, nice and stably. And then you've got your 2 medium-sized cup holders here, plus a pretty decent door bin. Not flock lined or anything, but we are talking about a pretty cheap car in the grand scheme of things. We've also got a USB-C, USB-A, and a 12-volt socket down here, but you won't be needing to use those ports anytime soon because as it stands, the EX5 is not capable of running Apple CarPlay or Android Auto via a cable or wirelessly. We're told this is coming via a software update before the end of the year for both systems, but I don't know, you can let me know your thoughts down below. I just don't think it's good enough for manufacturers to launch cars and have this crux of software over-the-air updates anymore, although I am aware that it is becoming a thing. So you can let me know your thoughts, whether you see that as continued improvement or laziness at launch. To the rest of the infotainment system, it's on a 15.4-inch screen that is quite responsive and does have a fair few apps, including a rather cheap Candy Crush knockoff that you can play in here, really crisp 360 surround view monitor as well. And for the moment, you can do Bluetooth streaming or AM, FM or DAB radio through a 16-speaker sound system. Now, when I first drove the EX5, it was a pre-production model and I was disappointed by the Fly Me or the Flime sound system, but in this full production version, I have to say it seems to have improved quite a lot. And at this price, I don't know if you'd get many better stereos. As I said, 16 speakers, including ones in the headrest, which is pretty impressive. Back to the touchscreen though, and it is quite convoluted, quite strange for some of the settings. So the vehicle settings, for instance, you've got a shortcut in here for the rear fog light for some reason. I haven't figured out how to change the shortcuts here, but it all just is a little bit mysterious. Again, something that you'd figure out as you owned the car over a longer period of time, but you've got to just jump through some hoops. And for example, I'll give you one. The speed limit assist is actually here in Intelligent Reminder. If you want to turn that off, you have to go through there. Yeah, it's just a little bit clunky, but as I said, at least it's nice and responsive, so that does help. There are also some helpful things outside the touchscreen. This row of buttons here for front demister, recycle, auto for the aircon, and then you've got this twiddle dial here, which is for volume control, but you can also customize its secondary function, which I have done. So if I press it down once, it also allows me to adjust the temperature. You can choose fan speed as well, or you can choose it to cycle through your backgrounds. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but I do like the implementation of that. And finally, we come around to the touch points of this vehicle, starting with the steering wheel, which is sort of a single spoke. It's a very strange shape. It's a bit weird to hold, but you know, it gets the job done. Digital driver's display in front of me has a decent amount of information. It's not huge, but again, it gets the job done. And then the seats, which are appointed in a fake leather vinyl material, which is kind of cheap and nasty feeling, but they do have relatively good adjustment. The driving position isn't perfect, but it's not too bad. And they also have features like massaging and heating in this vehicle. As far as the back seat goes, the EX5 is really quite fantastic. It's hard to find too many faults in. I'm 6'2", that's roughly my driving position, and you can see I've got heaps of knee room, a really decent amount of toe room for an electric vehicle, and a still fully flat floor. Plus, because of the high roof, I've got a decent amount of headroom, even under the standard panoramic sunroof in this Inspire trim. Other things you might not expect to find in a medium SUV with an electric powertrain at this price include soft touch up on top of the doors here, nice squidgy armrest, decent door bins. You've got speakers in the doors as well here, so I think the soundstage is pretty awesome, even in the back seat. Twin vents, twin charging sockets, a little pocket for your phone as well. Now onto the bench, which is often a place that manufacturers seem to skimp. It's quite squishy and a little bit soggy, but actually I have a reasonable amount of support for my legs, and I have fairly long legs, and the backrest is actually not uncomfortable. I have a little bit of lumbar support back here, and there's two positions to it as well. So you can have quite reclined or very reclined. Not a huge difference, but at least they're doing something. You've also got a fold down armrest, two hexagonal cup holders, and the final piece of practicality back here is this really nicely rolling storage drawer. It's got a maximum of 3.5 kilos, but I don't know, perfect place to store things that you don't want any prying eyes to see inside the car, like laptops or what have you. Build quality also looks pretty good. The stitching's a little bit wonky across the back seats, but I've definitely seen worse in more expensive cars. The only real gripe I have with it is that the window line is quite high. So even though you do have big windows, shorter occupants may start to feel a little bit road sick on longer journeys. And I'll come back to that very shortly because the ride quality of this car is also likely to promote road sickness. So the EX5 has done pretty well when it comes to packaging, technology, and then of course absolutely killed it in the value stakes. It is a seriously cheap car for what you get, more than even in a combustion vehicle like a Toyota RAV4, which is the sales leader in this class at the moment. And that's really impressive. Even things like keyless entry with sculpted door handles that are really quite easy to open. Proximity unlocking, it's really quite clever. Unfortunately, it all falls down a bit when it comes to the driving experience, which if you take anything more than a short test drive, you'll notice is quite severely lacking. Now coming back to that short test drive, the EX5 does well enough around the city. The controls are all light and easy breezy, the steering is very feel-less and just kind of gets the job done. Brake pedal is pretty consistent and the throttle is tuned to certainly give you a fair bit of smoothness. It doesn't actuate exactly how you put your foot down, which I think is there to combat taxi foot. You've also got a couple of levels of regenerative braking, none of which are truly one pedal modes. They're all require you to push the brake to come to a complete stop. Ride quality is soft and marshmallowy at low speeds, and you'll find that the front has a fair bit of travel, but the rear axle, multi-link rear axle I might add, and strunts up front with just passive dampers, the rear axle definitely lacks a bit of travel and rebound control. Visibility is not too bad out the front as well. The A-pillars are fairly thin. The rear 3/4 visibility isn't great, but at least you have the good 360 camera. What the Geely EX5 really falls down at is when you're presented with an Australian back road, a country road with real bumps, real surface changes, broken surfaces as well. It just gets completely flummoxed above 60 k's an hour, and I think that's not good enough if you want a complete car. And it starts to do strange things as well when you overstep the mark. And for example, if you misjudge a corner like I'm going to do here, carry a little bit too much speed in and just need to hit the brakes, it's sort of, whoa, goodness gracious, slews around there like that, which is something that could genuinely happen on a road, especially in the wet, especially as your tires start to wear down over a couple of years. And it doesn't give any confidence, no feel in the steering. You can increase the weight by going into sport mode, but yeah, that's a bit of an issue. The other problem with the EX5 is that it constantly moves around over bumps. Not so bad under 50 k's an hour again, but 60, 70, 80 k's an hour, it becomes quite messy. You are always feeling the results of a bump rather than the car effortlessly damping it out. It has none of the fluency you'll find in rivals in the smaller size class, as we did in our 3-car best EVs under 50k comparison. The Kia EV3, for example, even the BYD Atto 3 has a whole lot more on-road fluency than this Geely EX5. And at Chasing Cars, we do value that stuff very highly. It's all well and good to have everything you could ever want on a specification sheet, but if, when it comes down to it, the car doesn't perform on the roads that we all drive on here at Chasing Cars, the sort of craggy Australian back roads, then it's not going to get our tick of approval. And unfortunately, that is the position the Geely EX5 finds itself in. It's powerful enough, 160 kilowatts, 320 newton meters, enough to spin these front wheels. And I will give Geely credit actually for fitting pretty high quality Goodyear tires to this vehicle, but ultimately they can't make up for that lack of chassis finesse that really lets this car down. Speaking of being let down, the safety systems, in my drive of this example, it seems to be a little bit improved from the pre-production examples of the EX5, but not a whole lot. It is still, there's still plenty of room for improvement, we'll say that. Adaptive cruise control is okay, but it brakes too much when you're going around corners at 90 or 100 k's an hour. I think it's quite conservative. There's also active lane change assist, which I must say does work well, but the lane keep assist is very busy in this car. I've turned it right down to later, and then there's the speed limit assist, which turns on every time you start the car, and you have to jump through the menus to sort out. Now, that's not unique to this particular vehicle, but I have definitely found the EX5 systems to be just lacking in finesse. Again, better than some, but not as good as the market leaders in this class, which is just a bit of a shame. And then the final nail in the coffin for the EX5 is something that we're told will be fixed in an over-the-air update soon, but we were told that at the launch of the pre-production cars, and that is the sound, the creepy ice cream sound that it makes under 30 k's an hour. Great for warning pedestrians, I guess, but the fact that you can hear it in the cabin as this sort of like creepy background noise all the time you're going under 30 k's an hour is really annoying, especially when you're stuck in stop-start traffic. If you guessed at the start that the big catch was going to be driving dynamics and safety system calibration, then I guess congratulations, because the Geely EX5 is sorely behind the best in class when it comes to those metrics. I reckon though it is better than a Deepal S07 and the Leapmotor C10, and given its cheap price, maybe a step above the Kia EV5. However, that's not saying very much in the grand scheme of things. There are better cars out there that still manage to pack 5 seats and comfort into a really affordable package. The only reason I can see that you'd buy the Geely EX5 is because it is really cheap and it has a lot of features and you're not going to leave the city in it. If that's you and that's your use case, then walk in with eyes wide open to a Geely dealership and take one for a test drive. But I would really recommend driving broadly before you make your final decision. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section down below. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit subscribe to the Chasing Cars YouTube channel if you like our independent, no-nonsense reviews. And as always, thank you very much for watching.